Switchyards at Dusk, Confessions by Dawn Whistle. My name is Caleb and I tell Steele where to sleep. I'm the overnight yardmaster at the East River Freight Terminal, switch lists, dispatcher calls, a control board full of red and green lights pretending to know morality. On paper I assign crews, sequence cuts and file reports that turn chaos into schedule. In practice I translate appetite. Shippers want magic with guaranteed delivery. Crews want hours that don't eat their lives. Management wants miracles that pass audits. I carry a lantern scarred with old numbers, a thermos full of coffee too honest to be good, and a brass switch key that opens tracks in trouble. I live with Jonas. He's a paramedic who spends his nights negotiating with mortality and his mornings convincing me that exhaustion can taste like tenderness. He comes home smelling faintly of antiseptic and diesel and kisses the back of my head before collapsing into sleep. We keep a rule on an index card taped to the fridge with a magnet shaped like a boxcar. Say it by Dawn Whistle. At 06:05, the first commuter horn blows across the river. That's our truth deadline. Midnight honesty turns to theater, noon turns to excuses. Dawn is blunt, it keeps score. The Thursday the relays behaved and I didn't, the yard was restless. At 01:12 a crew dogged out on the lead. At 02:27 a reefer car screamed for power it didn't have. At 03:41 a dispatcher insisted the mainline wanted priority it hadn't earned. At 04:55 my phone buzzed with the joint email Jonas and I use for bills and unflattering confessions. Thank you for your stay, the Meridian. Time, 12:083:02. Points 200 added. The Dawn Whistle took a seat in my chest and said, kindly no. I didn't call him. Our second rule is for problems you can still walk off. 2 loops around the switchyard before nomming it. I walked past boxcars sighing into brakes, past a cut of tankers lined up like commas in an unfinished sentence, past the tower where an operator drew on his cigarette like punctuation. The ballast crunched under my boots and the yard said the sentence rail prefers. You already know. He appeared like a solution that wanted witnesses. Vale, he said, last name first, then Damien, offering a handshake that smelled faintly of cologne and contract. His badge read logistics consultant, which is money's way of saying spy. He'd been hired by a shipper to optimize throughput, a phrase that believes velocity is a synonym for faith. He leaned on my desk while I flipped a lineup and watched my hands as if they were writing him permission. You keep the yard polite, he said. I keep steel from forgetting it's heavy, I answered. When you throw a switch, do you feel it anywhere? He asked. In my shoulder, I said. In my teeth sometimes. He laughed softly. Drink after you hand it to day shift. The Meridian bar pours decency until 4. Jonas texted a photo of a gurney under fluorescent light, captioned, 2 cardiac saves. My partner swears we get 3. Dawn Whistle. I typed back a heart and a boxcar. He sent a flame emoji, and I imagined his body folded into the couch at home like a comma I wanted to finish. The Meridian bar exists to forgive. Its carpet smells like secrets and disinfectant. Damien sat in a booth where the lamps taught cheekbones to confess. He asked what it feels like to line 2 cuts across each other at 3 in the morning. I told him it feels like writing 2 men's names on one line and daring the grammar to keep up. He touched the back of my hand with 2 fingers like a signal check, and his eyes asked the question his mouth kept in escrow. I said now, because sometimes the lantern is green whether you like it or not. His sweet smelled like citrus and regret. He kissed like a man who had been applauded for restraint and decided hunger was overdue. He pressed me against the window, and the switchyard far below winked with lights like Morse code begging not to be read. He was generous where biographies teach men to be, and selfish where mouths prove they're animals. I put my hands where agreements live. We left the lamp on because daylight had been smuggled into the contract. After he lay on his back and watched the ceiling sprinkler like a deity rehearsing indifference. "You'll forgive him," he said, meaning Jonah's, meaning the man who trusts my silences. "I'll speak by dawn whistle," I said. He smiled like a man who bills by the hour. Jonah's was already home when I came in, shirt discarded on the chair, wrist bruised by a monitor cuff. He'd made coffee with the reverence of exhaustion. At 06:05, with the horn calling across the river, I told him nouns. Hotel, elevator, mouth, hands, yes. I did not hire adjectives. He listened like a medic counting vitals. "Do you love him?" he asked, not as indictment, as triage. "I loved the hour when nothing needed dispatching," I said. He nodded, wrote under our rule in medic print. "No rooms we can't name at this table. If anything breaks, we break it before dusk together." He underlined together twice, then kissed the inside of my wrist like he was checking for pulse. Damien did not treat nights as incidents. He hovered at the tower with consultant humility and predator patience. He sent me photos of dawn over the river with the caption "proof," as if light required affidavits. He learned the names of 2 conductors and said them like he'd been issued a timetable. He argued priority with me as if seduction were a waybill. The city's gossip vertical posted a grainy Meridian elevator still. My shoulder, his mouth, the caption "Yardmaster caught between tracks." Jonah's didn't forward it. He taped it inside the cabinet where we keep mugs, then removed it at dawn whistle and replaced it with a list. Bread, gauze, patience. This is how he archives. Nothing heavy where daily hands reach. Props like to audition for our story. The Meridian called to say housekeeping had found a ring under an ottoman in a room tied to the email I use when I don't want receipts in my pocket. Narrow gold, engraved D+C inside like arithmetic pretending to be destiny. Not mine. "Hold for owner," I said with my dispatcher voice, the one that files storms into numbers. Work tried to rescue me with honest difficulty. A crew misread a lineup and blocked the lead. A reefer went dark on track 7 and a driver called me with panic in his vowels. I wrote 2 incident slips and denied a third. Damien texted, "You are very good when the yard is afraid." I typed, "I prefer accurate," then erased it because accuracy is rarely polite. Then the red light blinked where no light should. Security called. "Check the VIP lounge." Tape beneath a table. A recorder the size of a matchbox, cheap, patient, profane. Its light pulsed like gossip. It had been collecting the soft part of us. The sigh before a crew signs off, the murmurs of brokers pretending patience, the first drafts of apologies whispered to phones. The sticker on its battery belonged to a firm hired by guest engagement to optimize client experience. Damien had dropped their name like a coin in conversation. I peeled it off with a scraper, bagged it, and dropped it on legal's desk. They wrote a memo with "regrettable" 4 times and "consent" twice. We printed decals in sans serif. Recording prohibited. Authorization required. Consent is not implied. We placed them on doors that had never learned to blush. I told Jonah's at dawn whistle. He poured tea like discipline. "Are we being interesting?" he asked. "Or are we being us?" He asks it like men ask for tools they already know you keep. "Us," I said. He pressed his thumb under my jaw with the tenderness of someone who has never used pressure for harm, and I said yes. Damien tried a finale rehearsed for an audience. He waited by the crew gate with the ring between his fingers, D+C glittering like a dare, and said, "Say my name." He meant Damien and also the other thing people mean. "Let me live in your mouth." "Damien," I said, because facts deserve pronunciation. Then I added, "Exit." He smiled, pocketed the ring like a receipt, and left with the arrogance of a train convinced the signal is always green. If you came for erotics notarized, here is what the record allows. There was a wall and a yes and hands where we promised they would be, a mouth that believed in the moment more than the man. The lamp stayed on because daylight had been written into the lobby contract. Heat without metaphor, a brief hour where dispatchers forget to count. If you came for intrigue plated, a ring with arithmetic, a recorder with ambitions, an elevator that envies drama, a yard that knows appetite better than confession. If you came for redemption, rail doesn't provide it. We sell arrivals. The recorder became a policy that became a decal. The firm was dismissed with a paragraph that smelled like money regretting only paperwork. We added sweeps to the crew lounge. The union asked if furniture could be trusted. I said, only if you bolt it down. The ring's other initial belonged to a man with cufflinks. Carter. There is always a Carter. Retrieved it with a lawyer whose kindness had been rehearsed. He nodded at me with the relief of a man grateful for a story not told. I nodded back with the face yardmasters wear when a train clears on time. Jonas and I practiced boring until boring remembered it is art. One morning in the kitchen he asked here, with his palm on my throat. I said now, because clocks love consent. After, he laughed into my shoulder like a man who has carried bodies out of fire and still found reason to breathe. We ate toast that burned one edge and didn't apologize. Work stayed work. A crew brought in a cut of grain that smelled like promise. A signal failed cleanly, which is the best you can hope for. A driver waved to a kid on a bike and the bike wobbled into laughter. I wrote it all down in my notebook under the heading Ordinary. Sometimes at 03:00 I stand on the tower balcony and listen to the yard breathe. The locomotives idle, the ballast shifts, the map glows green like hope with a pension plan. I think of my father showing me how to throw a switch with both hands, how he said this lever is a promise, not a suggestion. I think of the index card on our fridge and the brass boxcar magnet holding it still. I think of a ring engraved with arithmetic and how numbers always betray romance. We added another line to our rule because rules prefer company. In Jonas's medic script, if you burn something, do it where I can help find water. We didn't laminate it. Paper needs breath. The magnet holds. Damien will find another yard to haunt, another hotel to rehearse sincerity in, another ring to engrave with borrowed initials. I will still carry a lantern, a thermos, and the habit of being precise only when accuracy has been earned. For a few hours at a time, I move steel across maps so strangers believe arrivals are inevitable. For a few hours at a time, I say yes to alarms and no to appetites pretending to be fate. Then I go home if dawn allows, stand under a brass boxcar and say the thing. We leave the lamp on or off as needed. And when the whistle across the river tells the city who it is, I breathe, throw the switch, and send the train gently where it belongs.